Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to the alpha for Warhammer 40k, Dark Heresy. As today, with our initial serious business done, it's time to go full camp. We've got clues to collect and a corkboard to arrange. Also, I suppose 3 exotic companions in the wind. Who could they be? It is a mystery. There might be some subtle visual clues here somewhere, but who's to say? It does feel a bit weird that we don't have like an obvious tech companion. Instead, Sorrow, our sanctioned psyker, and the only one who didn't actually make the cut on this loading screen, appears to be like our catch-all skill monkey. Up. An inhumanly tall figure encased in outlandish armor appears out of nowhere. The ornate helm dips, and a distorted, otherworldly voice reaches your ears. I see you bear the pendant of Inquisitor Millicentilia. Greetings, emissary. Obligatory Aeldari companion. Not my favorite, but I'll take it. May he steel our hearts so that we might banish all doubt of the righteousness of humanity. May he grant us the strength to bring just retribution upon the enemies of humanity. Sorrow recites his prayer in a cold voice, keeping his eyes locked on the stranger. As indicated by a slight turn of the helmet, the armored figure throws a cursory glance in the psyker's direction. And may fate grant you the reason to subdue your innate aggression when you should. Easy now. We're all working for the same person. We're all just grist for the mill. The helmet dips. Your arrival is timely. I just finished my rituals of perceiving. Seymore whistles. Inquisitor Millicentilia isn't squeamish about the tools she uses. She's brought in a Xeno sorcerer, and right under Septima's nose. Heresy. The heresy of pride, which spurs one to believe in one's own exceptionality, and the heresy of consorting with the enemies of humanity. That's not so bad. Just an Aeldari, still an enemy of humanity, but pretty tame as far as the alternatives go. Could be a Drukhari. You have guessed my race, but I am no foe to you or your tribe. Inquisitor Millicentilia and I have forged a temporary alliance, one that benefits us both. Appiani looks at the Xenos with distaste and releases a breath. I must admit that the Inquisitor has always adhered to a principle of tolerance toward alien species capable of communication. A truly unique individual among your kind. I don't know about that. There was this crime lord I knew once. He seemed pretty open to working with non-humans. Of course, he did end up getting scooped up by the Inquisition, so, take that with a grain of salt. Anyway, I assume you're the associate Millie wanted us to work with? The stranger is silent, as if giving you time to realize the pointlessness of your question. Finally, a somewhat disdainful sniff comes from beneath the helmet. Judging by your reaction, Inquisitor Millicentilia did not deign to enlighten you about the identity of her associate. Nah, she was pretty cagey about it, but honestly, this all feels like one big test. What was that you were doing when we first came in? like an earless person querying the melody of a song. You are trying to understand that which you are incapable of grasping. Abandon the attempt, small creature. I have no time to waste on fruitlessly explaining my gift. So I'm not supposed to shoot you, right? Can you at least tell me what you found? Inquisitor Millicentilia wished to know if sorcery was involved in the disappearance of her underlings. Sorcery of a special kind, which has its source in the darkest corruption. The Xenos takes the Inquisitor's pendant from your hands and continues speaking in a changed, melodic voice. I hear the echo of what your kind calls the Empyrean. However, in this sound I discern not the foulness of that which the Monkey call the archenemy, but ancient fatigue, and the malevolence of a twisted mind. Interesting. So, something from the Empyrean, but not the archenemy. Something old, tired, and dangerous. How is that not the archenemy? The helmet turns as though the creature is pondering your request. Several seconds elapse in silence. It is powerful, all-consuming, and at the same time feeble, like the sigh of a song lost in a labyrinth. Sorcery of monstrous power that served its purpose, whatever it was, and then vanished without a trace. And you're sure it's not the archenemy? Like, not even one of the lesser ones? The Aeldari shakes his head. Your people are too young, and your perception of existence too rudimentary for you to comprehend the Empyrean in any depth. I will only say that the corrupting forces from beyond the veil hold sway over many creatures. There can be no doubt that the secrets of such species lie buried in the past of this sector. Secrets whose very revelation would imperil your feeble mind. I don't know, feels pretty straightforward to me. But I do have a lot of questions about you. Save your breath. I am a Wayseeker, and I am here because Inquisitor Millicentilia is offering me protection on my mission in exchange for my gift. Those who follow the path of the seer among my people are much more attuned to the Empyrean, and our manipulations of it lead to far fewer consequences than your fumbling. Inquisitor Millicentilia has chosen my skills over the assistance of one of your witches. Well, I mean, you must bring something to the table. Otherwise, I can't imagine Millicentilia would risk associating. Especially with a Sister of Battle camped out right on her doorstep. Clearly, Inquisitor Millicentilia's authority supersedes the laws that govern Lower Monkey. Although I am obliged to hide my nature from your kind to avoid provoking panic. Even so, few of your people can discern what I am at a glance. And rather than using sorcery that would make you all look straight through me, a hood and mask suffice. Yeah, you're very, very inconspicuous. So what exactly is a Wayseeker? Can you at least tell me that? I assume you seek ways? Yes. I am a guide and navigator for my kind. My gift enables me to chart courses through the webway and in real space. The helmet tilts slightly to the side. There exists another application for my gift, but that knowledge is of no use to you. It concerns only my people and our sorrows. That's rough, buddy. Yeah, we've all got our own sorrows. Mine's right over there. Guy in the robes. So what brings an Aeldari like you to an Imperial world like Scintilla? Your kind cannot hope to genuinely claim ownership of any planet small creature, and I am unwilling to reveal the reasons for my presence here. Suffice it to say that I am seeking a path to salvation out of a ring of darkness, away from a peril far greater than the discord between our species. A ring of darkness? Clearly, the Noctis Aeterna, a thing that I'm very familiar with, hence why I'm bringing it up casually in this conversation. This surprises you? Curious. When the archenemy's forces burst through the veil from their dimension and defile the world of things, no species is safe. Not mine, or yours, or any other. Indeed, that's exactly what I was about to say. And you're seeking some sort of salvation from this? You are overly inquisitive for a human who has casually crossed my path, and naive, for you expect my candor. If your heart is troubled by the thought that a Xenos is plotting evil against the Monkey on this world, then it need not be. I am here only to do my duty, to seek a way. Well, I mean, I can't really help being inquisitive. That kind of goes with the job title. I am also apparently interested in an ancient Xenos species that is somehow connected to the Tyrant Star. I assume you know what I'm talking about? Question mark? No doubt tied to the intensely action-packed prologue that I clearly just played through. The Xenos tilts his head slightly. I can guess what you are referring to. The echo of their songs whispers across this world. And here as well. Ah, good. Excellent. Yes, we're making progress on my clearly defined, overarching mission. Well, stranger, my name is Acolyte, and it sounds like the two of us have reason to work together to plumb these ancient secrets that we have spoken about in depth. Come to your senses, Acolyte. Do not make this mistake. Silence! The armor-clad figure sweeps an appraising eye over you. Perhaps we could have, were it not for my arrangement with Inquisitor Millicentilia. I have no interest in the company of a monkey that will simply be underfoot. Rude. The Aeldari raises his hand in preparation to work some sorcery. Then he suddenly pauses. The faceless helmet turns to you. Larthir. My name is Larthir Kainareth, small creature. Sure. He seems nice. I mean, honestly, I will say probably more personable than Yurliette was when we first met her back in Rogue Trader. Also, Millie, here to supervise our investigation, no doubt. Yeah, I'm getting some strong "this is just a test" vibes. Let's not disappoint. The tracks left by the steel-toed work boots are intermingled with numerous other prints. It is difficult to work out what happened here, and the chronology of events. Multiple prints detected on the bedrock and surrounding area. Initiating scan for further analysis. Sure. Okay. So nothing else there yet. There are knife marks in the inside of the vat. Someone tried to scrape off the hardened leftover porridge. That's the old man's hiding spot. Torture instruments. Cutting tools, tongs, needles, and a curved knife, all crusted with dried blood, are lovingly arranged inside the case. I mean, I would say that's out of place, but this is also an inquisitorial camp, so, you know, Like, we literally walked in on Millie doing it. Nice. Flame Shroud. At the start of your turn, the wearer's armor durability is increased by half willpower bonus for each burning unit in combat. Lasts until the start of the wearer's next turn. Okay, that's a pretty decent fit. We've actually got 2 characters who are flame-based. But one who is slightly more fragile than the other, so we'll toss that to Sorrow. Our man of constant sorrow. An expedition tent, temporarily occupied by Inquisitor Millicentilia. There is nothing left in the containers except for the smell of physaline that makes your throat itch. The workers could not have used up the entire supply of explosives. Someone must have stolen it from the excavation site. Well, that's probably not great. The ground is covered in iridescent stains. A thick, oily stench clogs your nostrils, but cannot completely mask the smell of blood soaked into the dirt. Blood and oil. Weird combo. Registering signs of a confrontation between 2 armed groups. I mean, we do have a servitor just over yonder. Could imply conflict betwixt excavation members and their own mechanical minions. The vid screen's lumens flicker furiously. Someone must have angered the machine spirit. Oh, interesting. And no way to actually fix it. No tech checks or anything. That does seem to lend itself towards the theory that local tech was compromised. Foreman's report. Location, excavation site, Sector 4, Shift 138. Foreman, Mardo. Layers of rock removed, 18. Personnel loss, 3 workers. Cause, collapse. Extracted items, 12 scrolls, 3 machine relics, delivered to the Magos. Proceeding is scheduled. A total of 3 disciplinary violations were observed during the shift, going outside the perimeter without authorization. The perpetrators were questioned thoroughly. Shift 162. Unsanctioned beliefs are confirmed to be spreading among the workers, which has led to acts of violence. The perpetrators were isolated. No intervention from Inquisitor M necessary. Requested a 4-hour shift extension as per the emergency protocols. Shift 175. 3 of the workers absconded to join the heretical sect. Permission to eliminate requested, awaiting orders. Established a curfew for all personnel. Interesting. So the group was compromised by the fanatics, it sounds like. Ursibus's flock of repentance. That might explain the symbols supposedly painted around the campsite. Or the torture tools we found, assuming those aren't just Inquisition standard. The crates scattered around the camp have been crudely forced open. If there ever was anything of value inside, it has already been pilfered. Registering evidence of forced access to the storage. Incident classified as an act of sacrilege and subversion of the authority of the Holy Ordo. Entry archived. Yeah, not really a lot to glean there. Ah, and now we can start forming theories. Though we're obviously not done looking around just yet. Let's see what else we can find like this. Yeah, alright, I'd say that's pretty blatant. 'Cause, 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 The religious symbols of the Merisportum fanatics have been sketched by an inexpert and trembling hand. A clear attempt to imitate the real thing. Oh, okay. Well, that would imply either... Well, it could imply that it's fake, meant to misdirect, but it could also imply that it was simply drawn by someone who had been newly converted and was thus not inherently familiar, like the 3 people who defected, as listed in the foreman's log. The servitors at the bottom of the pit have frozen in unnatural poses. There are no apparent signs of damage, and yet they seem to ignore all commands and make no attempt to return to the camp. Right, and yet another sign of potential tech heresy. Oh, and over here, near some remains. Not just any remains, but an actual broken servo sentinel. She did mention that her expedition crew included tech priests. Someone has ripped out the sacred circuits from the guts of this cogitator. The console is shattered, and a bundle of sparking cables protrudes from the casing. Signs of deliberate sabotage. Covering something up, perhaps? Well, we've got something. Code amulet. A heavy amulet of blued metal bearing an engraving in sacred code. Bisected body. The tech priest's body has been severed in half. The cut looks unnaturally clean. Oh yeah, less cut and more just like completely vaporized. Traces of fading psychic force activity detected. Changing scan mode to construct a hollow projection based on residual particles, not suitable for standard visual analysis. The imprint of an anomaly in the shape of a perfect sphere intersects with a cut on the body of the Magos. Very intriguing. So now the question is, was that a directed attack or simply a benign but very dangerous localized phenomena? Is that why this cogitator here was sabotaged? Because it had readings or other information related to that particular event? The mud has been churned up by heavy boots. Someone deliberately scraped the ground to get rid of the footprints. Oh, flub the check. I mean, we can pretty clearly see that's the non-human footprints, but shoot. Hey, there we go. Okay, still got it. The ripped tent shows signs of claws and beaks. They could have been left by people whose bodies have been altered by the Hab Zone's toxic environment. Well, I mean, Dark Heresy, I hate to go meta here, but you got a picture of a Kroot right on the loading screen, so I'm going to say it's probably Kroot. Though I will also say I'm a lot less certain about all this other stuff. Everything we need to make progress in the case is in this camp. We just need to know where to look. Yeah, I'm on it. Let's scope out this servitor. I am actually starting to form a bit of a picture here. The servitor's body is covered in notches and wounds. Someone methodically carved patterns into its flesh with a knife. Which certainly sounds like something you do with a concealed set of blood-stained tools. Plus some generic cargo. Alright, well, based on what we're seeing here, it sounds like the expedition was compromised by cultists. who then turned the camp defenses against the remaining members. But let's check our collective clues. We've got some new ones tagged. On the trail, what is the current status of the agent's mission? Millicentilia's agent, Rufinus Scragg. Agent of the Golden Throne from the retinue of Inquisitor Millicentilia, investigating the Merisportum Sectoris on an unknown mission. Agent's identifying marks: an old burn covering half of his face, left leg augmented below the knee. Not a lot to go on there. Agent's mission. Details remain unknown. Fair enough, so not much we can do there, we just have the very basic framework. As for the rest of the expedition, here we go. The Aeldari claims to sense echoes of incredibly powerful warp sorcery at the excavation site, which would match the assumption of a cultist assault. Bisected body. One half of the body of an Adeptus Mechanicus servant has been found under one of the rubble piles, severed by an unnaturally smooth cut. Identifying key features for comparison. These parameters will form the basis for analysis. The other half of the body is missing, and no trace of its movements could be found. It is as if it vanished into thin air. The internal fluids left the body post-mortem, most likely due to the rockfall. All across the primary wound area, the vessels and fluid tubes were cauterized at once. I have never seen such neat and clean wounds. Look at this clean cut. Like it's been done with a las cutter. But the caliber's non-standard, so it's not an Inquisition-issued weapon. Yeah, I don't think it's a weapon at all. I think we're looking at straight-up spatial displacement. My initial thought was disintegration, but now I'm thinking like spherical teleportation. Spherical imprints invisible to the human eye have been found at the excavation site, manifesting themselves in the servo assistant's particular wave radiation. Identifying anomalies in visual representations. Any deviations from the norm will be made apparent. The source of the tracks and their purpose could not be identified. Measurable characteristics: perfectly round sphere with a radius of 1.8 meters. About 6 feet. What a bizarre mark. It is as if real space itself split at the seams, and then an unknown force repaired the tear, leaving a thin suture. Reinforcing the idea it was some sort of teleportal. Strange tracks. The strange tracks found at the excavation site are believed to belong to mutated creatures the size of humans. Mutants? Question mark? Only found at the very edge of camp. Crates of physaline. Missing from the excavation are crates of physaline, a dangerous explosive likely used by workers to quickly remove obstacles and clear debris. No further clues, likely to be updated if and when we find physaline elsewhere in Merisporta. Missing expedition. The Aeldari believes that the disappearance of people from the excavation site is not as the result of actions of ordinary mortals. On that, I think we can agree, since I think we are really kind of honing in on the whole cultist angle, especially given the foreman's notes. A battered foreman's notebook containing a few surviving entries. The investigation of the evidence provided the following information. Missing expedition. According to the foreman's notes, some members of the expedition had begun secretly following the teachings of the Flock of Repentance. Okay, well, based on what we have found here, which I will say is slightly different than the set of clues I found in my brief test run. Because there, I think my clues pointed more towards bandits than cultists, just based on the different checks I succeeded and failed at. I think we can pretty safely say the cultists infiltrated the camp, then compromised their security for a later assault, likely teleporting in, using the servitors against them, destroying the cogitators on the way back out to cover something up. Larthier stares off into the distance, seeming not to have noticed you. Finally, he murmurs, "Is there something you wanted from me, small creature?" Well, I mean, I wanted to talk shop about my investigation, but apparently I can't, so... Hey, how about that mysterious ancient species and the Tyrant Star? This part of real space conceals many secrets buried beneath the ashes of the ages. Before your kind came here on their campaign of destruction, the local worlds bore witness to many civilizations, but one stood out. There is scarcely a planet in this region of space that does not bear traces of it. I see. And that's what brought you here? No, I was drawn here by a song distinct from theirs. But the depths of this world hide so many springs that the very air rings around me, and I cannot hear it properly. Inquisitor Millicentilia was supposed to assist me after I helped her. Yeah, I'm not so sure she's ever going to get around to that, but, you know, given that I'm taking lead on this thing now, perhaps we could work out a side deal of our own? Something a mite bit more mutually beneficial? Larthier is silent for a while. If you can convince Inquisitor Millicentilia to pass her obligations to you. And this time, the Monkey will aid me first. I will not wait until I have exhausted my usefulness in your eyes, and you attempt to betray me. I mean, look, that's a fair concern, but considering you're the one who brought up betrayal first, how do I know I can trust you? What's to stop you from betraying me once you get what you want? All you can do is trust my words, just as I trust the words of the inferior and aggressive species inhabiting the world that is necessary to my mission. Right, well, I'll certainly see what I can do. Larthier inclines his head. I will be interested to see how you fare in your endeavors. Okay, I guess I'd best get back to it then. Millie, how about you? Millicentilia raises her chin as you approach. Here's the acolyte. Larthier has already informed me that he told you of his findings. I dare say what he told you might even be the truth. Standing close by, the Xenos does not react to the Inquisitor's words. His gaze is distant, staring past you, as if he is listening closely to a melody only he can hear. I've got to say, you certainly have interesting taste in assistance. Very bold, given current company just outside this camp. Pretty obvious that the sister is just looking for an excuse. Which, I suppose, is why you've got the lookout. All the more reason to let me take him off your hands. Some things are more accessible to the cunning mind and heightened perceptions of an Aeldari. This is your chance to make use of his abilities. It would be unwise to spurn it. You cannot help but notice the thrum of tension in the Inquisitor's tone, and the look she casts at the Aeldari. It seems that, despite her confident words, she is anxious about the Xeno's presence in her unit, most likely due to the dangerous proximity of a Sister of Battle to the excavation site. Right, right. Yes, that does track. She was likely a lot more confident about the deal prior to the sister's arrival. You know, given current circumstances, I wouldn't mind taking him off your hands for a while. Might be best to put some distance between him and the rest of whatever you're doing. Out of the question. As of yet, you have not proved yourself capable enough to be permitted to have dealings with a Xenos. Did you think I would entrust a Corsair ally to a bumbling incompetent? Provide me with a reconstruction of the events, and I'll consider it. Okay, yeah, sure, I could do that. I questioned the witness, by the way. And? Do you plan to inform me every time you sneeze? Draw your conclusions and submit a full report, Acolyte. Of course. Can't neglect the paperwork. Alright, so let's puzzle this out. We've got 4 questions to answer, but you know what we haven't puzzled out yet is where the bandits and Kroot fit in. I feel like the Kroot are probably just like an incidental red herring. They likely popped in after the camp was already abandoned. We only saw their prints on the very edge near that one tent. They wouldn't care about Feiseling. They're generally only into things they can actually eat. If we assume the cultists infiltrated the camp and then ultimately took the rest of the expedition, it's possible the bandits did something similar, that the bandits also came in. They would have an interest in the Feiseling. They may have been ordered to not interfere with the expedition, but if the expedition was already gone, they could have come in to see what was left, and then possibly run afoul of the Kroot. Which could really imply these prints belong to any number of people. Except for possibly the bog beasts. I mean, if the bog beasts attacked and dragged the bodies away, it wouldn't be boot prints, it would be beast prints and drag marks. It's probably safe to say the expedition didn't... Oh, hold on. Oh, we have context clues. Okay. That's cool. Well, I don't think the expedition was taken away by bandits. I would really guess they were more interested in the Feiseling. The problem being that we do think that they were still taken, just not by bandits. Honestly, given that we had 3 other factions active here, the tracks might not even belong to the missing workers. We'll just go ahead and say they were taken. I mean, I think no matter what happened to them, they were taken by someone. I doubt they left of their own volition, minus the 3 defectors. Who attacked? Obviously not bog beasts, otherwise there'd be more bog beast tracks all over camp. Probably not bandits, I mean, for reasons we already discussed. This one does feel more straightforward. So yeah, we'll say fanatics, plus they were forced out of camp. That should hopefully plug together to establish that the cultists are the ones who assaulted the camp and then took the missing workers. Since technically that would also be true even with the defectors. They were former workers, essentially taken by the cult. Who was attacked at the excavation site? Well, see, that's interesting because, like, we do know that there were bandits here. They likely took the Feiseling. But if we assume that both the bandits and the Kroot came after the fact to salvage the now empty camp, it is possible the 2 came into conflict? What do Kroot bleed? Do they bleed something that might be oily? I mean, I'm assuming it was like servitor oil, but it could theoretically have also been Kroot blood. And the point of conflict does seem to be right between the torn tent and the empty crates of Feiseling. who ransacked the camp? Well, that, I feel, is easy. I'm going to go ahead and say... I'm going to go ahead and say... the bandits. I think they were sent after the cultists had already taken what they wanted. And took everything else that wasn't nailed down until they ran afoul of the bog beasts. The bog beasts, of course, being Kroot, who would only be interested in things they could eat. Such as bandits. Might explain the lack of bodies. The only bodies we found here were ones that would theoretically be at least relatively inedible. Cybernetic servitors. I don't know. It's tenuous, but we'll go with that. We'll assume the expedition was compromised and taken by cultists, and then the bandits and the Kroot came after the fact and really just kind of complicated the whole thing. I mean, really, it's hard to say if we can even necessarily resolve this particular investigation at this early stage in the game prior to, actually going out and getting more context. Have you learned anything useful? Yeah. It's all a bit muddled, but I think I've got some working theories. And you're sure you have not missed anything? I'm absolutely not sure, but I feel like I found about everything I'm going to. At least without leaving this area. It seems there was a skirmish in the camp over supplies, but I am not yet convinced of your conclusions. What about the strange footprints you found? I assure you there are no four-toed mutants in my expedition team. You think threats from some ragtag bandits would induce an armed Inquisition expedition to leave their posts? I find that hard to believe. I actually don't. I think it was the cultists, but I couldn't seem to separate the two concepts. Oh, maybe I should have just said the prince didn't belong to the workers. Millicentilia impatiently drums her fingers on her holster. Some of your conclusions are tenuous. Too tenuous. I cannot rely on inaccurate information. Larthir's voice sounds melodious and strange when, unexpectedly, he begins to speak. Your emissary's conclusions are tenuous because the tracks at the excavation site contradict each other, whereas the truth is not what it first appears. Someone took pains to ensure that the traces left behind would sow confusion in the mind of whomever might attempt to unravel this mystery. The Inquisitor's lips stretch into a mirthless smile. I knew there was something you weren't telling me, Corsair. I saw no reason to state that which was so obvious. I should not have forgotten that I am dealing with Monkey now. Acolyte has reminded me. The Inquisitor snorts. Either way, we have one indisputable piece of evidence. The tracks leading out of the camp. Look, they are crisp, clearly made by heavy work boots. But I already said, my people would never leave their posts willingly. Millicentilia looks at you. Find out where they lead. Can you manage that? I mean, look, Millie, not to give you guff, but you're immediately wrong there because, according to your own foreman's reports, at least 3 of your people did, in fact, leave willingly. I'm also pretty convinced those aren't the workers' footprints. Something strange is going on in Merisportum. My agent, Rufinus Scragg, has been working undercover in this God-Emperor-forsaken place for several months already. We were due to meet at the excavation site, but the latest seaquake cut off our communication. Track him down and help him with his mission, if necessary. Tell him that Lady M sent you. He will aid you in your investigation. Uh-huh. And how exactly will I recognize this Rufinus Scrag, you said? A fellow I've clearly never heard of before? The Inquisitor holds out a small portable device displaying a scowling man with burn scars over half his face. Rufinus prefers to cover his face, but if you pay close attention you will spot other signs. His augmented lower left leg, or his tattoos. The image on the device changes. You see an assortment of unremarkable symbols. Memorize them, Acolyte. This is how my people recognize each other. Got it. May I know what his current mission is? Might help me track him down. I tasked Scrag with investigating a clan of swamp mutants on the outskirts of the Have Zone, and assessing their usefulness to the Tyrantine Cabal. These are his reports. Study them. That will be enough to start with. Okay, so she clearly already knows about the Kroot. Thus, further confirming this was all just a test. She had already come to her own conclusions. And was just seeing if we would end up reinforcing her own. A quick scan of the reports leaves you in no doubt. The bog beasts the Inquisitor is referring to are a clan of Xenos. The Kroot. Evidently, Millicentilia and her people prefer to use this unsophisticated nickname given to the Xenos by the ignorant lower hive dwellers in order to rid the clan of unwanted attention, or perhaps somehow use the Kroot to their own benefit. Any other questions? Yeah, since it seems like my initial investigation here is done, why don't you let me take Larthier there off your hands? If nothing else, I can at least insulate you from potential prying eyes. The Inquisitor mulls it over for several seconds, clearly calculating. At last she hums in agreement. Very well. I am not opposed. Cairnareth? Larthier tilts his head to the side, surveying you. Time will tell if this small creature can live up to his word. For now, I will trust my instincts and consent to changing the agreement, on the condition that Acolyte assists me with some unfinished business here in this settlement. Fine. Acolyte, now Larthier Cairnareth is your burden to bear. Do not expect it to be easy. Offering protection to a Xenos is risky. Millicentilia hesitates before adding, slightly more quietly. Don't be afraid to mention the name of Anton Zerb. His patronage will help you avoid the wrath of people like Septima. The outlandish helmet turns to you. Speak with me in the place where we met. I want to discuss exactly how your newfound patronage will benefit me. Sure, I'll certainly do that. But, Millie, since the subject came up, I should mention that Sister Septima has also expressed an interest in your man, Scrag. Think carefully about what you will tell her. Betray the Inquisition, and it won't just be your career that comes to a swift and invidious end. Okay, well, I mean, that's not really necessary. I wouldn't have even mentioned it if I were planning on doing otherwise. Anyway, these bog beasts, pretty obvious, even from cursory examination, that they're actually Kroot. But you already knew that, right? Millicentilia's eyebrow twitches, but she gives no other sign of surprise. Clever. Indeed, it refers to the Kroot, carnivorous Xenos native to a different part of the galaxy. This clan has settled on the outskirts of the Hab Zone and has been under observation by the Ordo Xenos for some time. Keep its existence a secret until the mission is complete. Will do. All right, Mills, I'll leave you to it. This case won't crack itself. This case is not as simple as it appears. Do not rush to any conclusions. Turn over every stone in Merisportum before you send your case report. Your task is to dig until you uncover the truth, not to pin the blame on the first person you meet. Find out what happened to my workers. I hope you understand me, Acolyte. Yep, loud and clear. But sadly, I think that we'll have to wait till next time. We're already pushing the hour mark, so probably best to pause it here before we venture back out into Merisportum at large. And yeah, I think in retrospect, my critical misstep on this cursory investigation was assuming that the expedition walked out of here at all. I think it's actually safer to say that either A, they were teleported out, in which case they wouldn't have left tracks, or B, they were killed by the cultists, and their corpses were devoured by the Kroot. I'm guessing the boot prints we found over yonder are actually the bandits, who came in afterwards to collect the rest of the supplies. Kroot Clan. The outskirts of the Hab Zone are home to a clan of flesh-eating Xenos called the Kroot. The four-toed footprints at the excavation site belong to them. The Kroot purpose in life is to absorb the right, best strands, genes, for the evolution of their race. Thus further implying that they ate whatever corpses might have been left behind, minus the ones riddled with cybernetics. The camp shows signs of a skirmish between the bandits and the fanatics. Does it? I did not pick up on that at all. I actually assumed it was the bandits and the Kroot who came into conflict. Huh. Larthier is certain that what happened at the camp is not as it seems. Yeah, well, you can say that again. I think it's fairly obvious we've got all sorts of tomfoolery in the mix. Bandits and fanatics. I mean, I guess technically if we assume... Workers' footprints. The work boot tracks left on the dusty ground lead toward the elevator, the way out of the field camp. Which really means nothing. That could be anyone with work boots. Bandits, fanatics, the actual workers themselves. Other locals, like the old man. The one who snuck into camp to steal gruel scrapings. You know, I guess in retrospect, if we assume that the workers were in fact compromised by cultists, and then potentially replaced by more cultists, like, there are signs that the cultists did something here. I want to say they clearly compromised the technology in the camp. They killed the resident tech priest. Maybe they replaced the workers, and then the bandits came in afterwards to clear them out, knowing that they were fanatics. Let's see what Scrag had to say. Agent's report. Report number 1. Confirm the information. The unregistered bog beasts belong to a clan that disappeared during the cleansing of the Solaris Sectoris. 2 leaders, multiple burns. Everything matches our data. I assume the contractor does not know the clan survived. No one from the Upper Hive has contacted the clan during the observation period. Continuing surveillance and awaiting further instructions. Report number 2. The clan doesn't seem ready for any combat action. For now, the mutants are losing to regular bandits, but they have potential. I'm acting according to Protocol XC3. I will turn these outcasts into mercenaries, worthy of being in your employ. Trust me. Report number 3. Contact established. Progress is going better than I expected. Gain the trust of one of their leaders, pushing him toward decisions favorable to us. The clan is no longer at risk of extinction, and the potential of the mutants is growing. Report number 4. The results are positive, but progress has slowed. Received information from the leader. To strengthen the clan, a special diet is required. They need exceptional prey. Strong, agile, nutritious, with unique traits. I already have thoughts on this. Details at the next communication. Interesting. Okay, so evidence right there of bandits and Kroot coming into conflict. So even if not necessarily in this camp, they have previously fought. Millicentilia's agent, Rufinus Scragg. Agents identifying marks, a tattoo on the concealed area of skin. Characteristic of Inquisitor Millicentilia's agents, comparison data acquired. Which does give us slightly more to go on. Previously, we only knew about the burns and prosthetic leg, which does imply that Septima is unaware of the tattoos. Agent's mission. And then that just pretty much echoes the report we just read. Which we can research, potentially cross-referencing it with other clues. Initiating data upload to the sacred repository. Data decoded, structured, and appended to the case evidence. New information added. Reagent's mission. Reagent. The agent deemed the clan weakened, but believed its potential could be unlocked. Also, he made note that the Kroot were apparently survivors from a separate mercenary group, previously under contract by someone in the Spires, which was not apparently important enough to note in our collective clues. You know, I also can't help but notice that at least a couple of our other people of interest are sporting nasty facial burns. That does make one wonder if perhaps the fate of our Rufinus Scragg is that he, too, was ultimately corrupted or otherwise recruited by the local cult. Hard to say. You know, we're barely scratching the surface just yet, though we are slowly but steadily assembling a lot more pieces. That said, we'll hit the pause button for now. I will take care of the usual off-screen bookkeeping, mull on what we've learned thus far, and prepare for what comes next. And we will pick up here next time, as we take this to Merisportis. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Fury V23, Revenant, Alois, Bowman, Drakiith, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Lady Shayna, Mark Giemza, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.